Hello all and welcome to a very special History with R&R. Today we are going to be starting a new series with Mr. CCDV, who is now his actual rank, which is Sergeant First Class, I believe. Either that or,
That is
I,
correct.
I,
Yeah.
I, I could change
Sergeant
that
First
to a different
Class.
Sergeant First Class, Mr. CCDV. And first of all, before Mr. CCTV gets started, I kind of want to just kind of give you guys a heads up about what this is and what it'll be. First of all, when I've never considered myself a historian, even though I love history. Like I know more than I ever should know, and I know a lot about nothing, and jack of all trades, master of none. But for me, the most important thing, I think, going forward, and something that's lacking because it's been kind of poo-pooed on these days, is the telling of people's stories that were there. And Mr. CCDV was there on several occasions in modern history. Boots on the ground. It's undervalued these days, the stories that these men tell and have to tell. And for me, I think it's important. So for the next few weeks, until Mr. CCVD's story has been told in full, we will be having every second Friday a live stream with Mr. CCDV where he will go through his history and through his deployments. Because to me, I think it's very important that these stories are told by the men that were there. Not an armchair quarterback, not somebody that's just looking at numbers and facts and graphs, but the actual boots that were on the ground and from their perspective. I think that perspective is lacking, and I think that perspective needs to be told. So for the next little while, for as long as it takes, we will join together every second Friday, and Mr. CCV will go through his story. Another reason that it is so important that we get these stories down and recorded and out there is, as many of you know, Mr. CCDV suffers from MS. And eventually, these memories will slowly fade. And it'll get harder for Mr. CCDV to be able to talk like he does now. It will get harder for him to do these things. So while he still can, we are going to take advantage of that. And we're going to just let him share his stories. And it'll give everybody a chance to talk and interact with Mr. CCDV as he tells his story and ask questions. And I'll try to get to as many as I can. We won't get to them all, but we'll get to as many as we can in these episodes. We're not in a big hurry. And it's just for Mr. CCDV to kick back, tell a few stories, and relive a few things in his life. Some of the stuff he's not going to want to relive.
Yeah, regardless of whether I want to relive them or not.
Yeah. So with all that said, I'll let Mr. CCDV start us off. It's all yours, sir.
All right. Well, let's see. Where do I start? Do I start at the very, very beginning of my Army career, or do I start with my first deployment?
Yeah, start us off. Let us know what got you in, and then you can go to the deployment or funny stories from boot camp, whichever you prefer.
All right. Let's see. It was 1995. I graduated from high school, and I found myself going back to the high school to, I guess, relive my glory days. I mean, I was working full-time at a truck stop as a clerk, right behind the counter. So truck drivers would come in and I'd have to run their cards and things like that. But during the day, I was usually bored. So I would just go back to the high school because that's where I knew everybody. And I realized that I was that guy. And I didn't want to be that guy. So I called the recruiter. I actually called the Air Force recruiter first. And he said, "Oh, no, you have to have 2 years of college to do the job that you want to do." I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I don't care. I called the Army next.
Yep.
And they were like, yeah, you can do the job you want to do. Come on in and take the test.
Yeah. Yeah. Grunt? We could use a grunt.
I don't know how familiar you are with the ASVAB. What is that? What is the words for the ASVAB? You know, the Army just absolutely loves their acronyms.
Oh, yes, they do.
Armed Forces Vocational Aptitude Test, ASVAB,
Okay.
or whatever, Aptitude Battery, I guess is what it is, ASVAB. At that time, in '95, I scored, ironically, a 95 on the ASVAB. It may have been in '93. I may have my dates confused, whatever the case may be. But yeah, and so the recruiter at the recruiting station called me back to his office, the commander of the recruiting station. And I didn't know Army rank. I didn't know, officer from enlisted or anything like that. So, the boss of the recruiting station called me back to his office. I was like, I either did something really right or I did something really wrong.
And there's only two ways that splits.
Turns out I did something really right because the first thing he did was pick up a book that was 6 inches thick. For you Canadians, that's 369, 90 millimeters thick, 9 centimeters thick. That was huge. And he dropped it on the desk in front of me and said, "What do you want to do?" I was like, well, I don't know, honestly.
What do you want me to do?
So, all those acronyms are FUBAR. Thank you, Mountains of Elysium. I am in a public place. I would tell you what FUBAR means, but you can look it up.
Yes. I believe it's fudged up beyond all recognition.
There you go.
There you go.
So I found myself going back to high school and going, "Oh, hey, I know you, and I know you, and I know you. Let's go hang out." And that was bad because I was 18 and I was hanging out with 16 and 17-year-olds.
Yeah.
At that age, it's not a good thing.
Uh-huh.
Well, at my age, that's not a good thing either. Anyway, so I called the Army recruiter. I came in and took the test and got really high scores. And the commander of the office actually told me, he was like, okay, when you go and you're healthy, you're fine, you're going to get inducted into the Army, no problem. When you see your counselor, let that counselor know that you want $30,000 of college benefits, right? Because at the time, there was no post 9/11. It was 1995.
Yeah.
So there was no post 9/11 benefits at that time.
Yeah.
And so what the Army was offering was $30,000 of Army something benefit, whatever.
Yeah.
So you could either get a bonus, which you would not receive until you got to your first permanent duty station, which would be somewhere in the range of $10,000 to $15,000 of a bonus for signing up, or you could get the GI, not the GI Bill. GI Bill was $15,000 at the time.
Yeah.
Army College Fund was an additional $15,000 on top of that.
Okay.
Or you could get a $10,000 to $15,000 bonus depending on what MOS you signed up for. MOS is mission. No, what does MOS stand for?
I don't know. Fubar?
You're listening to the stories. You look it up. MOS. It's I haven't had to think about these terminologies in a long time.
Military Occupational Specialty.
There it is. Military Occupational Specialty. Yeah. So you could get a bonus for signing up for some of the more technical stuff at the time. After 9/11, of course, it was different.
Yeah.
But yeah, in 95, it was either sign up for a MOS that gave you a bonus or sign up for an MOS that gave you a Army College Fund. And so I said, I want to join an MOS that gives me the Army College Fund. And so, my list, because of my test scores, was like, every MOS in the entire Army.
Yeah.
Down to cook, fueler,
Yeah.
supply clerk, whatever.
Yeah. Desk jockey. Yeah.
So my choices got really reduced at that point, and I chose fueler because, well, I had been working at a truck stop, right? So
Yeah.
I know what fuel is. I thought to myself, I said, I'm going to be driving a fuel truck.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out I was going to be driving a fuel truck, but nowhere anyone ever wants to drive a fuel truck.
Yeah, well, there's that. Slight problem there, but yeah.
But we were at peace in 1995. I mean,
Yeah.
there was nothing going on, Oh, well, Mr CCDV, he has to drink. So,
Yeah.
anyway, I went into the Army as a 77 Foxtrot. 77F. That was my MOS.
Okay.
Now, remember in 2000, I don't remember if it was 2001 or 2003, but they switched us over to 92 Foxtrot. So when I say 77 Foxtrot, a lot of, holy shit, I was in the Army a long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh, God almighty. It's been 20 years since November 11th, hasn't it?
Yes.
Or September 11th, I mean.
Yes. Yeah, it's been a minute. Yeah.
I can't believe it's been 20 years, man. Anyway, before that, we were 77 Foxtrot, and somewhere in 2003 to 2005, we switched to 92 Foxtrot, but we were all still fuelers. It didn't matter. We were all quartermaster fuelers.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and the Marines did, as a matter of fact, thank you, Darth Haster. Yes, the Marines did actually train at Fort Lee, Virginia, with the Army fuelers because we all used the same equipment. So
yeah, just the Marines got yelled at more, or how did that work?
Actually, the Marines didn't get yelled at in their what they call A school. We called it AIT, which is oh, good Lord, I've forgotten everything, haven't I? AIT, right. Individual Well, at least I know what I means.
Yeah, there you go.
Advanced Individual Training, AIT.
There you
Advanced
go.
Individual Training. The Marines had already gone through all of their basic training and all that stuff, and so when they got to AIT with us, their A school, they were basically just Marines who were
Yeah.
learning a job. We
Yeah.
were still recruits.
Ah, so you got yelled at more.
We got yelled at a lot.
Yeah. I figured as much. Recruit usually comes with that asterisk.
Yeah, yeah. We got yelled at a lot.
Yeah.
uh, where was I with that story?
Now you were just talking about how you got they changed your designation.
Oh, okay. So in 95, I joined as a 77 Foxtrot, and I went to school as a 77 Foxtrot. Well, it turns out that there are some MOSs that are very, very important and very, very technical and require smart people. And there are some MOSs that do not require smart people. Guess which one I picked?
That would be the barring anything else, I would say let's not go with the smart people.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you this from the very beginning. You know, we had the drill sergeant and we had the instructors in A school or AIT or whatever you want to call it, and I was serious. I was very, very serious. I wanted to be a very good student, and so
Yeah.
I studied for a week. I mean, I read the manual and I learned everything I needed to learn for that first test. And after that first test, I got 100% on that test. I only got 98 on all the other tests. After that first test, I started bringing a novel with me to class. And I sat in the front row, and my instructor was standing in front of me, 4 feet away from me. And he saw me looking down at my novel, reading my novel, while he was droning on about how you need to distribute fuel.
Okay.
And I graduated as an honor graduate from that course.
Gotta take the wins where you can get them, right?
You take the wins where you can get them. I know I'm fast forwarding, way fast forwarding actually, because I don't think I went to non-commissioned officer school until I got back from. Well, anywhere between 2008 and 2014, I went to non-commissioned officer school.
Okay.
No, I was in Germany. Okay, so it was 2008.
Okay.
Whew. Oh, jeez. God, my memory sucks.
It happens.
But the fueler's manual, right? You've
Yeah.
got there is a manual for everything in the army.
Well, of course.
And the fueler's manual was our Bible. That's
Yes.
what we went off of, the flashpoint of jet fuel is 120 degrees, and if you have a problem with the pipeline, you send this brush thingy up there and it spins and cleans out the pipeline, and you get to run more oil through that pipeline. You're good to go. Everything is in the manual.
Yeah.
And so I thought to myself, I said, Self, you are going to be a staff sergeant. That's an E6 in the Army.
Yeah.
You are going to be a staff sergeant. You need to know all of this. So I read the manual again for
Mm-hmm.
the third, fourth time, whatever it was. Would you like to guess at what my schooling was like when I got to Fort Lee for basic non-commissioned officer course?
I would assume it had absolutely jack shit to do with what was in that manual.
Oh no, you are absolutely wrong. Thank you for bringing that up. She read word from that manual.
Oh, lovely.
The problem is, and here's the problem. Here's the problem that I have with anyone who is a expert in their field. She was an expert in her field, and she could not read.
Oh no,
You
that
know,
doesn't spell good. Uh,
the epitome of hyperbole is ridiculous. So you got to think about yourself listening to a person saying the epitome of hyperbole is ridiculous for 8 weeks.
oh, lovely. Oh boy. And of course, she probably has a bigger rank than you, so you're not going to exactly stick up your hand and go, that's ridiculous.
Exactly.
Or might wash it out some latrines.
Oh, God almighty. I felt like a moron. I was like an E5 for like 2 years, right? I'd been on my third deployment by the time I went to BNOC.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I went to BNOC. Wow, you fuelers are not the sharpest tools in the shed I've ever met. I have to be honest with you. So that is the school that I went to. The epitome of hyperbole is where I went to school for military training.
Oh, lovely. Lovely.
I was, by the way, I was honor graduate in AIT and I was honor graduate in BNOC.
Well, that probably didn't take much.
It really. Remember, I was reading novels under the table while I was in a advanced individual training, and I graduated as honor graduate. So yes, it's fuel is not hard.
Yeah, it goes boom.
Anyway, that's so. I thought to myself when I was 19, I was like, okay, I'm smart. I can do stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And so I applied to West Point Preparatory School. Well, I actually applied to West Point. They accepted me to the preparatory school so I could get more credits toward calculus and more credits toward English and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I was at West Point Preparatory School for about 6 weeks. Or 6 months. 6 months.
Okay.
And then they told us that the prep students were going to West Point. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool, right on. So I went to West Point. And for a week, I had to follow a freshman around. Now, at West Point, they're called plebes, right?
Okay.
I still have no idea what that means. But they are plebes at West Point, and for 10 months in your first year of college, you are treated like the stuff you find on the bottom of your shoe when you walk through a yard with 10 dogs,
Yeah.
that's the way you're treated for 10 months at West Point. And
Okay.
I chose not to be treated that way. However,
Ah.
during that week, I went to several classes, and two of the instructors asked me, "You're going to be here next year?" And I was like, "I think so, sir. Yeah." The first was sociology, and the second was history. So you know where my bent is, obviously.
Yes.
I think we were talking about Mott and Bailey's at the time that I was there following my freshman counterpart. I was like, yeah, Mott on top of the hill, Bailey surrounding the hill. You got horses, and you know, take your trebuchet and throw the rocks back up to the to the Mott where they were thrown down from the first place, and you're good. You know, you don't have to actually siege a place for 6 months. But yeah, the West Point instructors actually liked me. The West Point upperclassmen liked me, but I, I at that point I was like, okay, I've had a year and a half of Army service, and I cannot find myself being a plebe. I just can't,
Yeah.
you know. Oh, thank you, Colin. Yes, Latin for aristocratic class, but in American society, plebe means a freshman in college.
Yes. The lowest on the totem pole.
Anyway, so I left there and I went to Fort Hood, Texas, which is right there in Killeen, Texas. It's a little bit north of Austin, Texas, a little bit south of Waco, Texas. And it is the largest training base in America aside from Fort Irwin, I think. So we were actually, oh, how far? Whew, wow, Texas. Texas is big.
Yes.
Anyway, that's where I went on my first deployment. I
And where
was
did you end
in
up?
1/8 Cav. That's the first battalion, first regiment, 8th Cavalry Battalion for the cavalry, 1st Cavalry Division. Whew.
Okay.
Ah,
Because I couldn't make that any
brain
more
hurts.
complicated.
So you have division, you have brigade, you have battalion, you have company, right? And so it was 1st Cavalry Division. You had 8th Cavalry Regiment. Division. Division, regiment, brigade. Yes, okay. So it was the 1st Brigade of the 8th Cavalry Regiment,
Okay.
and we went to Bosnia. Now, mind you, this is 1998.
Yeah.
So the fighting had been over with for a year at that point, I think.
Okay.
And I know I often say this on live streams because people really don't understand the difference between Shia and Sunni, and I'm not an expert, but Shia in Bosnia were being persecuted
Yeah.
by Christians, Catholics, Christians, whatever the case may be. And that's why NATO stepped in to stop the
Yeah.
Christians from hurting Muslims, regardless of whether they were Shia or Sunni.
Yeah.
We stepped in order to stop that violence. And so it was 95, and I was in basic training when we got the word that Bosnia had kicked off. And I don't think most of the country, my country, and I don't think most of your country even realized that Bosnia was a thing in 1995.
No.
I knew it was.
Same could be said about Darfur and
Yeah, yeah. So
that
in
area too. Yeah.
in 98 when I went there, it was, bombed out buildings. I mean, if you look at the documentaries of post World War II Europe,
Yeah.
that's what Bosnia looked like. And it took us a long time. It took us a very long time to get everything situated in Bosnia. But that was my first deployment. So,
What
what
were
would you
your
like me to say at this point?
well?
Because
What were your job? What did your job and your average day look like in Bosnia?
okay, I can do that. When we got there, it was September of 1998, I think. September, October, November, December. Okay, so it had to have been August of 98. August, September, October, November, December. Yep, it was August that we got
Okay.
there. It was still hot, right?
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it's even in Europe, it's right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we got there in August. Oh, father mucker. My memory is just absolutely shit at this point.
That's all
Anyway,
good.
so it was August that we got there, and we were living in tents in August. Go ahead, ask me why we were living in tents.
Yeah. Tense, really?
It had been nearly 3 years that NATO was in Bosnia,
Mm-hmm.
and we were still living in tents.
They forgot the Army Corps or what? Corps of Engineers? They forgot them at home or what?
In any case, by November, we actually had wooden buildings we called sea huts. I don't know
Okay.
if anybody's ever heard the terminology for sea huts before, but yeah, and by the time 1998 rolled around, we lived in tents for 2-3 months, and then we moved into the sea huts, which had air conditioning and heating. They
Oh,
were heat pumps. Yeah.
nice.
Heat pumps on either side of the sea hut. The funny thing is that there were people who were turning on the air conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
and there were people who were turning on the heating at the same time, because there were a lot of soldiers who were from urban areas that tend to be warmer than
Yeah.
rural areas, right?
Yes.
So the urban area soldiers wanted it hot. The rural area soldiers wanted it cold.
Yes.
So I happened to be in the middle of a sea hut, so I kept having constant hurricane right above my cot.
That'll do it.
I'd usually get up and turn off the heat because I like the rural area
Yeah.
cold better.
Yeah. Yeah. Executive decision.
Yeah, yeah. But oh my god, that was. I can't believe they put us all in sea huts. There were 20 men living in a 20 by 5. No, it was 12 foot. 20 by 12 foot shack. Some living rooms are bigger than 20 by
Yeah.
12.
That's a little tight. Um,
And there were 20 of us living in that, head
so
to toe, head to
does the
toe, head to
term
toe.
yeah, does
But
the term stacked like cordwood mean anything to
you,
anybody?
you got one heater that sets the one heat pump that sets to 95 degrees, and the other heat pump set to 68 degrees, and they're just constantly going back and forth all day, every day.
Oh,
Oh my
lovely.
god.
So, what did your job look like over there?
Ah, well, that is a good question. Actually, at that time, and I still say to this day, I think Bosnia was my favorite deployment. Now, is it my most memorable? Obviously not. But it is my favorite, I think, because the reason is it was 24 hours on. So 24 hours I had to sit in the fuel shack, and every 4 hours the convoys would come in and I had to fuel them up. And every once in a while you get a one off. So every couple hours you'd go out there and we'd Rochambeau, right? So
Yeah,
like rock, paper, scissors, right? Like,
yeah.
okay, who's gonna go feel out this convoy? And there were three or four of us in there, and so we'd go rock, paper, scissors, rock, paper, scissors, rock, paper, scissors, and somebody would have to go out there and fuel up the convoy or the whatever the case may be. That was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But we'd have 48 hours off.
Oh,
So
nice.
2 days, right? 1 day on and 2 days off is what it was in Bosnia. And so we
Yeah,
could
it's not a
go
bad gig.
to the dining facility and get something to eat, and we could go to the USO tent to watch a movie and eat popcorn, drink sodas. Because it was considered a Muslim country, we couldn't drink alcohol.
Okay.
So we didn't drink. Well, I'm sure a lot of people did drink alcohol on all
They weren't
four of
supposed to,
my.
but they did anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, on all four of my deployments, I was a teetotaler.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but that's you can't tell people. Don't smoke pot, don't smoke hash, don't drink alcohol, don't do this, don't do that, don't do the other thing. Soldiers don't listen.
No, neither do children. So go figure. Um, or they'll do it just because you said not to. Is the other crux to that?
Oh yes. No, Colin, thank you for your comment, but I really don't want to get into the difference between Shia
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Sunni. This is all about what I've done
yeah,
in the support of U.S. troops in multiple deployments.
yeah.
So I really don't want to get into the theological differences.
Yeah, we did that once. Uh,
Yeah,
check
yeah,
check
we
Mr
did.
CCDV's channel. We did that.
But I can tell the difference between a turban and a headscarf. So
Yeah,
anyway, where were we? Bosnia, right?
yeah.
So the very first video I did for Memoirs of a Pogue was when we were sitting around the kerosene fire. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of people know what B&R is, brown and root. But in '98, they were called Kellogg Brown and Root, right? Not
Okay.
just Brown and Root. The military is very easy on acronyms. So when we say
Yeah.
Brown and Root, we mean Kellogg Brown and Root. It's the same thing. Same company in Bosnia as was in Iraq, as was in Afghanistan. And so, we just say Brown and Root now, but at that time in '98, it was Kellogg Brown and Root. And so we
Yeah.
say that. They were contracted to come through every camp, every little hut, and refill the kerosene in every single heater that was in every single camp in Bosnia.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they loved it. Absolutely loved it. Because they were getting paid by the U.S. government, so their pay was absolutely guaranteed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So one night, and it was cold. It was cold. And we were in the sea huts at the time, so it had to have been November.
Okay.
And it was cold. I mean, there was snow on the ground. I had slipped and fallen on ice.
Oh, that always sucks.
Yeah. So by that point, yeah, it was nasty out there. So we had the kerosene heater running in the little shack, and the little shack was 6x6.
Mm-hmm.
6 foot by 6 foot, not 6 meter by 6 meter.
Yeah.
6 foot by 6 foot.
Yeah.
It was a tiny little shack, and there were 4 of us. And the kerosene heater was right in the middle, and there was a little fence around the kerosene heater that just don't get any closer than this. And we were like, okay, no problem. But we'd go out and fuel up the Humvees and trucks and stuff, and we'd come back into the shack and be like, holy shit, my feet are cold. Holy shit, it's cold. And so we put our feet up on the rack.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I suspect you know what's coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
The bottom of our boots melted. So when we put our boots on the ground, our boot prints actually stayed on the ground as we got up and walked out of the shack for the next shift because our boots had melted.
That must have been some interesting explaining to supply.
Yeah, we had to buy our own boots.
Oh, lovely. I need some new boots. Why? Oh, meltage?
Does meltage count as field loss?
Yeah. Were you stationed on a volcano? No? Then no.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a good part to put a pin in it. And in 2 weeks, we'll pick it up from Bosnia and we'll go back and then we'll carry on from Bosnia to your return to the States and then your next deployment. And we'll just take it one thing at a time. And again, I want to thank you, Mr. CCDV, for coming on and sharing this with us. It's really awesome. And, even though it seems routine and stuff like that, I think it's important that, even the little details get talked about because it's stuff that some of us have never even thought of. Like,
Well, it's something that I just did. Right?
Yeah. And it's another day at the office.
Any soldier that you've ever met in any war is going to tell you the same thing. It's just something I had to do.
Yeah, it was another day at the office. Yeah.
not necessarily another day at the office, but it was something that I had to do. It was
Yeah.
part of my training, part of my upbringing, part of whatever made me stay in for 18 years. That's why I was there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us, and a reminder that we will have we'll be back not this coming Friday, but the Friday after with another episode with Mr. CCDV. Also, just a quick little side note: tomorrow will be a special karaoke. Mr. CCDV will be there, I would assume.
Actually, no, I have to be at the VFW for that
Oh, okay.
karaoke night.
All right. Awesome.
Sorry about
So,
that.
yeah, no worries. So we will have a special karaoke night, raising money for Mary's Game Rooms charity. My better half. She is doing a gamers 24-hour live stream raising money for the kids' hospital. So we will have a special karaoke to try to push them a little bit further past their goal than what they are, and so we'll have a special
Because
karaoke
we want to
tomorrow
see
night.
Loki's face.
Yeah, there you go. And basically, tomorrow night at karaoke, there will be a shirt and sticker given away. So make sure you're there. And also, special reminder: November the 11th, there will be a 10:55 start time here on History with R&R for the Remembrance Day Remembrance. And also, I believe Mr. CCDV has a special stream that day.
Yes, I cleared it with the VFW post. I'm actually going to do the November 11th live stream. Probably just before dinner while the women are all making dinner for the veterans at the VFW. So I will advertise the VFW for the entire country on my live stream on Thursday, the 11th. I'm not sure what time. I think dinner starts at 5, so I'll probably go live around 4 o'clock Pacific time.
All right. That'll be awesome. And I'll make sure that I have the exact time. And yes, Colin, mine will be at 10:55 Central Standard because I want to start before 11 o'clock so that right at 11 we can do the traditional moment of silence right at the 11th hour, 11th day, 11th month.
11:11. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll try and be there for that. I don't
Um,
think the veterans dinner starts till 5 o'clock, so I can be with you on 11:11 at 11:11.
yeah. So that's kind of my goal there, and we're gonna have good conversations. Do a moment of silence, of course, at 11 o'clock, and look forward to seeing you all there. And of course, do check out Mr. CCDV's ceremony when it goes live on his channel. And with that, thank you all, and as our Richard would say, thank you and good night.